Hello witchy people. So I was looking through the computer and I don't know how, but I came across this news so back in January, and it is, I spent a week becoming a witch and the results were worrying. And I thought I'd like to read this and kind of react to it as I'm reading. I don't know if this video is going to work, but we'll give it a go. So at the head of the page it says book lover, and this, I spent a week becoming a witch and the results were worrying. I'm watching it on my screen here. So I'm going to need my glasses. Inspired by Luna Bailey's new book, The Modern Witch's Guide to Happiness, our columnist Kerry Radford sets herself a New Year, New Me challenge. And as I say, this is back in January of this year. So let's have a look. There's Kerry wearing a really daft hat. And my computer's crashed. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's the new year. I could have given up booze and bacon or embarked on a punishing new fitness regime. Why do any of it? But these seem too harsh for the drab days of January, and besides, I had more ambitious plans for a personal transformation, namely to turn myself into a witch. Of course, that's the first problem, is you can't just decide suddenly to turn yourself into a witch without having some seriousness about it. So, oh crikey. So I just noticed a word on the next line. I know I'm going to get angry at this. So, at this opening of a scary new decade, we're in the midst of a resurgent interest in all things mystic, superstitious, or more than a little bit woo. As the New Yorker magazine observed, astrology is currently enjoying a broad cultural acceptance that hasn't been seen since the 1970s, and its cousin in dogged resistance to logic, specifically witchcraft, is also having something of a moment. Its cousin in dogged resistance to logic. I find witchcraft very logical. Perhaps that's just me. Something of a moment, refitted for the age of self-care as a way for women, just women, to reconnect with themselves and the natural world. I'm barely into it and I'm already finding things I disagree with completely. Dear. Think crystals, not cauldrons. But why don't you keep your crystals in a cauldron? Anyway, let's carry on. Last summer, Publishers Weekly noted that witchcraft was one of the strongest trends in the mind, body, spirit category, and the interest shows no signs of abating. Last summer, I actually find that a bit unbelievable, because I think there isn't... I find, yes, there are certain times when witchcraft has a resurgence in popularity, but I don't think it ever becomes suddenly accepting compared to any other time. So I don't know. Okay. Well, never knowingly on trend, it took me 5 years to attempt a jumpsuit. I decided for once to seize the cultural zeitgeist. She's basically describing witchcraft as trendy. I find that slightly offensive as well. I picked up a copy of the newly published The Modern Witch's Guide to Happiness by Luna Bailey and set my cynical self a New Year, New Me challenge. Oh, that's where she's got her first problem there. She's cynical about it. I can't say anything about Luna Bailey's book. I don't think I've read it. So, okay, so we're now starting Monday. Right, this witching business. One of the things I need, along with a suspension of belief in the scientific underpinnings of the universe. Okay, and this is where I go back to a lot of folklore and superstition and old wives' tales. Things that we have believed and followed with no scientific backup for many, 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 many years and generations, we find that actually have some scientific base to them. So to be a witch is to suspend belief in the scientific underpinnings of the universe. I'm sorry, you can be a witch and a scientist. Why not? Being a witch is more for me about the mysticism inside than outside. You know, I mean, I believe the earth is round. I believe we've been to the moon. Anyway, so along with her suspension of belief in the scientific underpinnings of the universe, apparently what she needs is an altar, not to sacrifice a goat upon, sorry. No, this book is whiter than a student union snowflake, but to claim a space for creativity, spiritual growth and guidance. And creativity, spiritual growth and guidance are in, which I don't think is because she's quoted it from the book. I think it's because she's taking the mick. Anyway, let's carry on. Recommendations include some bright cloth, salt, and in brackets, protective and purifying and represents the earth's energy, plus objects to suggest earth, fire, air, water and spirit. That's a good start, I suppose. I manage a pot plant, a small bottle of Polish plum vodka, spirit and fire in one, boom, and a stripy scarf. It doesn't look anything like the Instagrammable extravaganza in the book, but at least it made me tidy my bedside table. Okay, so she's obviously not taking this at all seriously, which, okay, she's not doing it for that reason. She's doing it because she wants to try and jump on something that she believes is a trend and, you know, get paid for doing some writing without caring whether she offends anybody along the way. So the fact that it Polish plum vodka, spirit and fire in one, boom. Okay, you could see it that way. If she was talking about it in a, you know, like asking a question, could I class this as a spirit and fire? Could I? You know, fair enough, but I don't think that means, you know, well, I know you don't mean spirit as in alcohol. Anyway, and what was the stripy scarf got to do with anything? By the end of the day, though, it has been joined by a light smattering of cat hair. My cats always jump. They love my book. Oh, which I've moved up there. It's up there at the moment. So yeah, they love my book, and it's always covered in cat hair. And if I'm doing work on anything, everything gets covered in cat hair because they're really interested in knowing what's going on. And whether that's just because cats are very curious, I don't know, or whether it's just a witchy thing, I don't know. Anyway, a light smattering of cat hair and my 4-year-old's Lego T-Rex. Okay. So she's letting her 4-year-old become involved. That's nice. Is the universe trying to tell me something? Yes, the universe is trying to tell you to shut the hell up and start taking things seriously. Oh dear. I've heard of fluffy witches before, and that always offends me. This is a fluffy journalist. She's a fluff journalist. Sorry, my computer keeps on flicking over to another page. Okay, Tuesday, crystal shopping time. No self-respecting witch in this new age of Aquarius would be without these ubiquitous lumps of pretty rock. I take myself to a gift shop. Wah, wah, oops, that is your next mistake. I was going to say first mistake. It's not her first one. Why would you go to a gift shop to get crystals? You'll end up paying a fortune. The book informs me that I should allow myself to be drawn to the crystal that has meaning for me. That's fair enough. I position myself in front of a stand of crystal bracelets. Will it be the pastel pink rose quartz with qualities of love, peace and tenderness, apparently laced into its silicon and oxygen atoms? Apparently? Or the playful inky black bornite? I close my eyes, then open them. I found myself uncannily drawn to something after all. It's the price tag, 10 quid. I am propelled out of the shop by unseen forces. Yes, once again, she's taking the mickey. She's being a fluff journalist. Any self-respecting journalist, I believe, should take it, partly seriously. And that's, she just wants to get paid for doing a piece that she feels is bang on trend. So yes, and I'll tell you what, if it was my shop, not that I own a gift shop, but if it was, first of all, she shouldn't have been in a gift shop buying crystals, because you don't know how they're sourced, you don't know how the people who source them are paid, and secondly, you're going to pay a premium price for something you don't need to pay a premium price for. And why would you be buying a bracelet when you could buy just the crystal? But if it was my store, she would be propelled out not by an unseen force, but by my boot up her backside. Okay, we are on to Wednesday. Finally, some advice I can wholeheartedly embrace. 5 tips for making simple connections with nature, from touching leaves to noticing sights and sounds. Tricky, but not impossible if you're schlepping to work on the tube. Easy where I live and instantly soothing. A frail yellow autumn leaf clinging by a thread, a rubbery weed poking through a desert of gravel. You get the picture. Another edict is to appreciate the seasons, including picking up an acorn or pine cone in autumn and keeping it through the winter. There are reasons for this, as you know. She obviously hasn't looked into the reasons why you do these things. And to me, there's no point doing a piece like this if you're not going to look into the reasons why you do things, the reasons behind the things you do, within witchcraft. Okay, turns out I was witchy all along, as some colleagues would probably attest. In my coat pocket, I still have a perfect hard conker that I found in October. I don't believe it offered me protection through the winter months, as the book claims. I just like the feel of it. And that's where she doesn't get it. You like the feel of the conker, so you hold it. And the reason you like the feel of it is because you like the energy it gives you, not just the touch. I'm really sorry, my dog is making weird noises. And so in that sense, yes, it's calming you. You like the feel of something, so you're holding it and it's calming to you. And because it's calming to you, it's making you feel better and it's improving those winter months. In a very small way, maybe, but it's working. She just doesn't get why. Okay. I suspect a large part of the appeal of witchcraft today is the emphasis it places on slowing down, switching off from your phone and taking notice of the natural world. Oops, again. Not me, but I do know of many, many witches who are tech witches who have their whole practice online. And most of the time that is done through their phone, because their whole computer is through their phone. Not mine, because my phone can't even take a photograph without crashing. So I would have to disagree with that as well. Her suspicions about the large part of the appeal of witchcraft today is the emphasis it places on slowing down. I don't agree with. I think people who take it seriously and really truly do get involved in being a witch and being involved in witchcraft, they do it because it fulfills a sense of completion within them. It is something that completes them and makes sense to them. Okay, Thursday. Since I am well into my first week as a witch, I decide the time has come to attempt my first spell. None of the magic, and it's in with a K at the end, incantations listed involve putting a pox on my enemies, which will be a relief to the landlord who has failed to fix my broken boiler. Does she live in London or something? They're all perky personal growth exercises. What's wrong with that? If you're going to start a simple spell, make it something that is a perky personal growth one. I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. After a skim, I settle on a burning and banishing spell. This involves writing down worries or unwanted personality traits on a piece of paper, then setting fire to it. It's a good simple spell to start off with, but once again, it's intent that really does, you know, put that, make it work, as we know. Next to tax return, I put knee-jerk scoffing cynicism. I would have set it on fire, but I was too cynical to waste a match. Oh dear, I wish I was too cynical to read on. Yeah, obviously she's not taking it seriously. She's not understanding the whole point of witchcraft and the practices that witches do. Okay, let's carry on. In fairness, there is a reasonable body of evidence to suggest that journaling is good for us. Okay, so journaling is good for you, but spells for personal growth isn't. Taking time to think about and articulate what we want to let go of is no doubt psychologically healthy. For me, it's the puff of smoke that's a step too far. Oh my. No, she obviously... she does not get it. That's all I can say. The whole of this, she doesn't get it. Right, we're on to Friday. The last weekday, and time to take it up a level, I open the chapter on tarot and prepare to dabble in divination. I don't really... Not even I can do tarot. I think it's something that takes a lot of practice. There are some people that certain things come very naturally to. There are some things I can do that do come very naturally to me. But there are other things that you can't just pick up and do. And I think tarot for me is one of them. Okay, I don't have an actual set of cards, but witchcraft has a relaxed homespun kind of vibe. So I improvise. It's not about being relaxed and homespun. It's about making use of what you've got so you don't waste anything that you don't need to. I raid my daughter's toy drawer and find a set of sea creature playing cards and get reading. Well, why not? Sea creature playing cards, why not? I mean, I don't know what you're going to read with them, but okay. If you have an affinity with the sea, or perhaps, you know, you want to do a little bit of sea witchery, why not sea creature playing cards? Okay, she says, I must focus on my personal objectives, then hold the cards or lay them on a surface. The book suggests I start by selecting 3 cards and using them to answer 3 questions. What is my dream? What is stopping me? What is the reality? Okay. I turn 3 cards over. Dolphin, shark, dolphin. She obviously hasn't shuffled them very well. The interpretation should apparently come from my own intuition. Yes. It is it's getting your brain connected to your heart and your gut. That's the intuition. Dolphins are playful creatures. Sharks are scary. For an actual moment, I find myself thinking, this makes sense. You can make anything make sense. I want to spend more time on creative work. Fear is holding me back. But the reality is I'm still a creative person underneath. Fair enough. That's what she reads into it. That's pretty good. And there we have it. Confirmation bias. You go looking for a pattern and you will find it, even in a pack of deeply non-mystic marine animal cards bought to entertain a small child on a rainy holiday in France. I have a different view of that. The cards have an affinity with her family, with holidays, with a memory, so why not use them? There is a certain amount of magic attached to that, you know, because there is energy attached to that. And yes, part of your intuition and reading cards is seeing patterns and reading those patterns. So you have to have some sort of confirmation bias, if you like, to see a pattern there. So once again, she's kind of missing the point, I think. Okay. Our brains are built to leap to conclusions, to see what's not really there. I don't agree with that either. I don't think our brains are built to leap to conclusions. I think our brains are built to carefully consider a conclusion. For the most part. Okay. Built to leap to conclusions, to see what's not really there. Helpful if the twitching leaves might hold a crouching saber-toothed tiger. Yes. Misleading in modernity. No, it's not misleading in modernity. It's part of the reason we're all such credulous suckers. Still seduced by superstition at a time when we have the technology to make a space probe orbit Saturn. I think she has to try and, or she should have tried to get out of this idea that science and witchcraft are opposing forces, because that's not it at all. Even the most well-seasoned and clever professor, or, you know, astronaut maybe, you know, someone who's heavily involved in science, will tell you that a gut feeling still has a huge importance in what they do. You know, there is a reason why we haven't lost some of these, some of the traits that we have from, you know, prehistoric man. There is a reason why we have not lost these traits. We, you know, it's because we still need them. And if we still need them, there's a way we can use them to make them work for us. And I think that's what we do within witchcraft. Okay, Saturday and Sunday. I spent the weekend pondering all things witchy. No, she didn't. She's probably spent all weekend taking the mick and trying to find something to write that made her think that she sounded clever. On the one hand, it's hard not to snort coffee through your nostrils when you read that water that has had rose quartz soaking in it can be given to soothe traumatised animals. Yes, and part of it is a placebo effect. You know, because it's, and obviously not that the animal knows that's what you're doing, but your calmness and your assuredness that this is going to work when you give it to the animal is what helps calm the animal. You know, and so reduce the trauma. So yes, some of it is a placebo effect, but everything has a certain resonance, a certain energy. And, you know, we're finding out new things scientifically that back up superstitions and old wives' tales all the time. Okay. On the other hand, witchcraft is no less irrational than any other religion. Oops, there we go again. Witchcraft, for many, is not a religion. And by saying witchcraft is no less irrational, it's also saying it's no more irrational. Okay. And many of its practices are in fact a reasonable response to the major challenges of our time. Like what? Reasonable response to what? What major challenges? I don't get what she's trying to say. This is me being dense, I'm sure of it, but okay. Rediscovering nature, reclaiming the sexist trope of the witch as a symbol of female empowerment. What about men? switching off from the constant thrum of social media and consumerism. What's not to like? The answer, of course, is that however benign or even beneficial the rituals, it's all built on a wobbling base of bats. Okay, back to the previous bit. Because true witches, not just people that want to practice and play at it for a few hours, true witches do have quite a hard time finding other people who have the same interests as themselves. So therefore, social media and the internet can often play a very important, almost vital role in connecting us. So I think, although yes, for a certain degree, we do turn off social media and whatnot when we're actually practicing, when we're doing ritual, doing spell work, that sort of thing. Not always, but sometimes. Social media, consumerism, she's also already proven part of that in that, you know, switching off from consumerism. The first thing she did as a witch was to go out shopping. So consumerism, she obviously she must have, surely she must see at some level that the way she has practiced as a witch or played at being a witch is exactly the opposite of what she thinks it should be by that one sentence. Anyway, the answer, of course, is that however benign or even beneficial the rituals, it's all built on a wobbling base of bats. I'll give you a wobbling base of bats, missus. No matter how many spells we cast to ask the universe for help, the universe isn't listening. We don't ask the universe for help. Oh, she doesn't get it at all. Obviously, many of you know I don't work with deity. Even if I did, I understand that you do not ask deity to solve your problems. You ask deity to stand with you so that you can solve your own problems. That's the whole idea. You're not asking for help. At the most, you're probably asking for guidance. You don't, it's not like praying to God in a Christian sense. This is not how witches work. Okay. On a personal level, it's probably better for us just to accept that life doesn't always go our way and lower our expectations. Why? Oh my word. It's good to accept that life doesn't always go our way, but then you have to also accept that perhaps if the universe isn't giving you something, you don't need it. And there is, there are other reasons for it. Things do go wrong. You can't expect to be a witch and then everything to be perfect and happy and, oh, a spell can fix everything. That's not what it is. She's in fairy tale land and a bit Hollywood, I think. Anyway, lower our expectations. Catherine Gray's wonderful The Unexpected Joy of the Ordinary is a lovely New Year read on finding the magic, no K needed, in the mundane. So this whole thing is just basically a plug for a completely different book. And on a broader level, the recent zest for the mystic is part of a worrying backlash against the Enlightenment values that have driven human progress. So basically she's saying that witches are backward. A backlash against the Enlightenment values that have driven human progress. The thing is, for me, partly, the way I am a witch, it kind of makes me very open to things. Now, and I think if you have that openness and that curiosity, in general, you are going to discover things which is never going to impede your progress. It can only accentuate human progress. On one end of the political spectrum, you get the anti-vax movement. On the other, climate change deniers. I'm not going to make any statement one way or the other about either of those. Standing in the light of a full moon to recite our resolutions may be harmless, but as a society we shun science at our peril. So basically she's used this whole thing to promote another book that she liked, take the mickey out of witches and witchcraft, and not understand anything, and basically pit witchcraft and science as opposing forces against each other, and they're not in my opinion anyway. Okay, that was my reaction as I was reading this through for the first time. I am still utterly well, I think it's taught me a lesson in that I really sometimes when I read things like I spent a week becoming a witch and the results were worrying. When I read that, I should just in future save my time and just not read it. It was fun. It was a fun read, but not something to take seriously. And obviously someone who has a hidden agenda to promote another book and to not want to understand about witchcraft at all. Thank you for watching, witchy people. I'll be back soon. Bye for now.